Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Susan Howard, Program Director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the Johns Hopkins University. On behalf of the Osher at JHU staff, welcome to the Fall 2024 preview. I'm excited for you to see the wonderful classes we have lined up this fall. But first, I want to share a few program details. In September, we'll continue to offer classes in person and virtually. I'm pleased to let you know that we will host a special kickoff event featuring prize-winning journalist and former Washington Post columnist Bob Levy, as well as special trips and events associated with our classes. During the semester, Osher at JHU classes will meet in person on Thursday in Baltimore and Monday through Thursday at our locations in Columbia and Montgomery County. In addition, we will offer virtual classes via Zoom Monday through Thursday for a morning and an afternoon session for 6 or 12 weeks. New this fall, we've added an evening session from 7 to 8:30 p.m. with 3 and 6-week classes. Registration opens Monday, June 10th, and our fall classes begin Monday, September 16th. You can register through the beginning of classes and 2 weeks into the semester. We offer 3 tiers of membership, so you can participate at the level that works for you. There are 5 ways to register, and you can find that information on our website at osher.jhu.edu or by calling a program assistant at 667-208-8693. If you have questions or need a catalog mailed to your home, please reach out to us in an email to osher@jhu.edu or call Administrative Supervisor at 667-208-8692. We will respond to your request as soon as possible. We are extremely grateful for the faculty members who recorded the videos you're about to watch. And this main event is all made possible by faculty member Stan Levin. Thank you, Stan, for the long hours you spend creating and perfecting this documentary of our classes each year. We are truly grateful. Finally, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your support of the Osher at JHU program, and we look forward to seeing you this fall. And now, please enjoy the preview.
Hello, my name is Gidon Amir, and I'm going to teach in September a class titled The End of Days, Eschatology, Apocalypse, Resurrection, and Afterlife. Well, ever since human beings became aware of the fact of mortality, they raised the question of what happens at the end of life? What happens after we die? Is there any continuation? Is there something that we can call afterlife? That is one important question that people have asked and people still ask today, as a matter of fact. The other question that was raised once we started to believe in one God, a God who is just and a God who is good, yes, with the idea of monotheism, then came the question, well, what happens if we look at life? Life is full of suffering. Life is full of what we can call injustice. Yes, the question of why bad things happen to good people? That is a question that also demanded an answer. God is good, God is just, but where is justice? What will happen at the end of days? That period of time is supposed to give an answer to both of these questions. Interestingly enough, we find also that around the 1st and 2nd century to the Common Era, theology also developed a different kind of an answer that contradicts a bit the idea of the Messianic era. But I will leave it at this, and all this and other topics will be covered in the class that starts in September. And I hope to see many of you there. And until then, I want to wish you a good summer and see you in September. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Lisa Yangis. I am a new instructor with Osher, teaching a choreography class on choreography, the storytelling on Broadway, and I call it the legs of Broadway. I'm a longtime dancer, dance instructor, choreographer, performer, and this class will really appeal to anyone who has any type of interest in dance, Broadway, just being entertained, having a great time, and learning some new behind the scenes anecdotes and connections about Broadway theater, Broadway dance, and how the story gets told to audiences. I've been teaching in a few different locales, and this really seems to appeal to people. People tell me they thought they hated, for instance, tap dancing, and after taking this class, they have a new appreciation and are going out and buying tickets. So hopefully the same will be true for you. I encourage lots of class participation, and hopefully you will join me and have a great time this fall dancing on Broadway.
Hello, my name is Dr. Andrea Cantora. I'm an associate professor at the University of Baltimore, and I'm a professor in the School of Criminal Justice. And in this course, we are going to be talking about the effectiveness of American prisons. So we will be looking at these big questions about why does the United States have such high rates of incarceration, whether prisons actually make communities safer, and what happens inside prisons to help people return to the community to live effective lives. So we will be looking at a series of academic articles that I will assign. And one book that we're going to be focusing on also is a book by Chris Wilson called The Master Plan, My Life in Prison to Life of Purpose, which really gets at the experience that someone goes through while they're incarcerated. Also in this course, we're going to be looking a little bit about Maryland issues and some prison reform taking place within our state. And we will also hear from a few people who've been previously incarcerated in the state of Maryland. So I look forward to spending time with you and learning together. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Roger Brunyett. The music you just heard is by a contemporary Nigerian-American woman, Nikiro Okoya, one of the many discoveries I made when first preparing this course on women in the arts, which is coming to Rockville in the fall. It has been a journey full of surprises. For example, we often think of women's art as being gentle or domestic. But look at these. I'll play one more clip while you write down the address of my website below. Look at it, and if you're intrigued, do sign up.
Hi, my name is Guillaume de Sion. I often go by G for short, it's easier to pronounce. And I'm inviting you to take a course entitled The Nuclear Age. Simply put, what is the nuclear age? Well, in 1945, we entered it through the nuclear testings. But in fact, the nuclear age is the result of a confluence of several factors: 20th century, the age of physics, as well as, of course, the escalation of violence in two world wars, and then, of course, the famous or infamous Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. Many things are fascinating about this era, also a little bit scary. Some of us remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, or at least our parents lived through it. Some of us remember the extremely strong rhetoric of President Reagan, or even Premier Andropov or Premier Gorbachev. All these elements, in fact, affected our way of living. They also affected our popular culture. And so, what I'm inviting you to investigate with me is aspects, facets of this nuclear age, not just through the American angle, but also through the world angle. How did people react to it? What were the peace movements about? Where are we now? Is there indeed a specter of nuclear terrorism? Some of it sounds a little bit bleak, I know that. But in fact, you, as well as I, have lived through elements of this. And that's why I think we should all get together to talk about it on a weekly basis this coming fall. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ting Zhang. I'm a professor of economics in the University of Baltimore, and I'm also associate director of the JHU Friends Institute. And my research mainly focuses on aging and entrepreneurship. Aging, I mean population aging, entrepreneurship, and workforce development. That's my main topic of my research grants. And also I'm interested in public policy and human capital and regional science. Regional science is something related to spatial patterns, space relationship of economic phenomenon. I'm awarded professor in last year. I was the University of Maryland Board of Regency Faculty Award in Research and Scholarship, and this year I won the University of Baltimore President's Award. I'm also the Harry Wright Chair as endowed chair, and also won Theo Price Excellence in Teaching Award. So I hope you feel you will be in good hands in teaching. And in addition to my regular research, in which I've published the books and the publications, the journal articles, I also had the role as the entrepreneurship faculty fellow at the Association of Public Policy Analysis and Management, as well as the chair of the North America Regional Science Council and president of the Northeastern Regional Science Association. And I'm also holding a position as appointed member of the Maryland Governor's Office of an Equal Pay Commission. And I give invited talks and speeches in major conferences, international conferences, as well as universities globally. And I'm also interviewed quite a few times by major media such as the Business Week, Bloomberg Business Week, Academic Times, Market Watch, Epoch Times, and Baltimore Sun as well. And I'm also holding some editorial role for academic journals, and some of them are prestigious international journals. So that's a brief introduction of me myself, and I look forward to talk with you more in anything you're interested in. Hopefully there's some chance we can have more discussion or even do some work together.
Alexander Hamilton's economics. Do we need them today? My name's Nancy Spanis, and I say we do. I am a public historian. I've been studying Alexander Hamilton since the middle of the 1970s, and particularly looking at the documents which he wrote that described his vision for the American economy. Subsequently, I've written 2 books on that question. One of them, the first, Hamilton versus Wall Street, The Core Principles of the American Revolution. And the second, just more recently, Defeating Slavery, Hamilton's American System Showed the Way. Both of those books deal with what the vision was that Hamilton had and what he put in place to turn us from a slave-based economy in many parts to an industrial economy that would prosper and bring peace to our nation and to the rest of the world. So in this class, this 6-week class that I will be teaching in the fall, we will go into Hamilton's political economy. We will focus on documents, particularly his report on manufactures, and then trace those ideas through subsequent political periods with presidents such as Abraham Lincoln and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who were the ones who most successfully carried through those ideas. So if you're prepared to really buckle down and look at some of that history, concentrating on original documents, then I hope you will join me and at the conclusion agree with me that yes, we need Alexander Hamilton's economics today. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Dave Hatch, and I'm proposing this fall to teach a course on the history of Asia, an overview. We will begin with a look at the traditional cultures and the early history of these countries. A quick overview, but I think a necessary one, because probably more than in the United States or in the West, the historical background, the cultural background from traditional times still greatly influences patterns of thought and behavior and shows up in some of the things we see in our international relations with these foreign countries. We will then look at how these countries reacted well, or in many cases not well, with the earliest contacts with Western nations, how they have, in the 20th century, reestablished themselves as independent countries. And while I won't engage in prediction. I'm an historian, not a prophet. I think that we can look at some of the ways the situation is developing and the trends that will take us forward over the next couple of decades. So I invite you to a grand tour of Asian history. I think it'll be interesting, sometimes perhaps even fun, but I think there's a deadly serious purpose to it. We need to know more about this Asian area, understand it, and learn how we can work effectively with it, not against it, but with it. So I hope I'll see you in the fall.
I'm Peter Silverglate, and I've taught 3 prior courses at Osher. In this course, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I hope to convince you of the genius of Mary Shelley and of her superbly crafted novel Frankenstein. Published in 1818, it is the best-selling novel of all time. The only book that has sold more copies is the Bible. Consider that when someone calls something a Frankenstein monster, we know what they mean. Numerous movies have been made based on her story. No other early 19th century novel has had as much influence on our times, despite 200 years elapsing since publication. We will spend the first 2 sessions discussing the background, themes, and major plot points of Shelley's revolutionary novel. We will then view the movies Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein and discuss the choices that the directors and scriptwriters made in bringing the novel to the screen. For the last 2 classes, we will view Young Frankenstein, Mel Brooks' satire of the first 2 movies that we will see. Reading the novel is up to you, because I know that all of you know the basic story. I hope you'll join me for what will be an informative and frighteningly good time. Thank you.
Hi. If you've ever wondered how a group of people transition into the modern world, then this course is for you. We will explore the various facets of social structure, social organization, and social practices in a small-scale, non-Western society. The tribe we will explore will be the Juhuanse of the Dobe area of the Kalahari Desert. Using anthropological theory, we will discuss the customs, values, and beliefs of the community. An in-depth examination into the ethical issues that small-scale societies face in today's world will also be explored. Join us.
Hi, I'm Don Stanton, and I'm looking forward to teaching our fall discussion class on 1950 to 1975 Dynamic Decades of Change. This will be an interactive survey class looking back through the years. I will guide the discussion for each class, which covers about a 2-year period and roughly 40 slides. We all have memories from these years, so I encourage you to share your stories and help get discussions going. We will immerse ourselves in 1950 to 75 and look back at social, economic, political, and military events ranging from the baby boom, building suburbia, presidential administrations, polio, cars, aircraft, color TV, civil rights, the space race, Vietnam, protests, music, films, sports, and the Cold War. I grew up on a farm in upstate New York and graduated from high school in 1968 and from Cornell Navy ROTC in 1972 and served on ships off Vietnam and later as a patrol pilot. But I only had very limited information on what was going on then. So recently, I've been trying to look back and learn more about events from these interesting times. The PowerPoint slides will simulate our memories, and we can all contribute our thoughts. There are no reading assignments, but please bring up things you have read or seen or just want to talk about. We will have many interesting discussions, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all this fall.
Greetings, my fabulous Osher students. It is with immense pleasure that I get to talk to you about the music of Johann Sebastian Bach and his incredible affinity with the city of Leipzig, the city of Dresden. Bach, a remarkable figure, born in 1685 in Eisenach, the same town that gave us Luther. He dies in 1750, 65 years later in Leipzig. He works in Leipzig from 1723 until his death, and he does just about anything that anybody can do there, except perhaps write an opera, and there was no need for him to write an opera in Leipzig. So many incredible projects Bach involved himself in: the musical offering, the art of fugue, the St. Matthew and St. John Passions, the B minor Mass, the 48 preludes and fugues for keyboard, the Brandenburg concertos. The list literally is endless. Since going to these cities, my love and affection and respect for J.S. Bach has just increased exponentially, and my desire to share that with you is enormous. So I look forward to seeing you in the fall. I look forward to talking about J.S. Bach. There is so much to share, and I think 12 two-hour lectures, we can scratch the surface. Yeah. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a good summer. See you in the fall.
My name is Mark Weinstein, and I'm the primary lead for the Great Books course. Unlike many courses at Osher, the Great Books course is not a lecture. Rather, it is an interactive group discussion of selected short stories. Our discussions are structured by a process developed by the Great Books Foundation called the Shared Inquiry Method. The objectives for this class are to increase not only our understanding of the stories and the authors who wrote them, but also our understanding of our own values and beliefs and those of other members of the class. In sharing this information, these discussions generate a strong sense of community, a sense of family, which many of us value. In the fall of 2024, we'll be using an anthology titled The Penguin Book of the Modern American Short Story. It contains stories by well-known authors such as Grace Paley, Raymond Carver, Stephen King, as well as authors who are less familiar. This anthology is available as an audiobook. However, I know that some of us are challenged, have eyesight problems. And because of this, we'll have members of our group who will be willing to read the stories to you. We will also choose other sources of short stories, but these remain to be determined. Thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you all in the fall.
I'm Steve Herman, a veteran foreign correspondent, a former White House News Bureau chief, author, and an adjunct assistant professor of journalism at Shenandoah University and a lecturer in journalism at the University of Richmond. I will be leading a course here on media literacy. We will cover the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and create media in various forms. Media literacy empowers individuals to understand content critically, recognize bias, and differentiate between credible information and misinformation. Media literacy fosters informed decision-making in our society and responsible media consumption, enabling people of all ages, education levels, and backgrounds to engage actively and thoughtfully with media messages in this digital age. Media literacy, I think, is not an option nowadays. The lack of it has dangerous ramifications at this crucial time. With a multitude of news and information sources on and offline, how can you tell what's real from a deep fake? And what is being created by so-called artificial intelligence? That is even becoming challenging for experts as the technology evolves. In my course, we'll learn to be media savvy, and we'll give you techniques to impart to friends and family when they forward those unbelievable stories that pop up on their Facebook feeds. I'm looking forward to having you in my upcoming class with the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at JHU.
Good day, I'm Dr. Ryadinas. I was born in Russia and earned my doctorate focusing on medieval perception of animals in Jerusalem. I conducted postdoctoral research on medieval paints, stained glasses, and bells in Cologne, and pursued paleography in Cambridge. I am excited to announce a course I'll be teaching titled Medieval Science: Exploring Insights and Discoveries. This course consists of 6 lectures. Introduction to Medieval Science, providing an overview of the course, introducing participants to the diverse realms of medieval scientific inquiry. Medieval medicine and healing, exploring medieval practices during the medieval period, including theories and methodologies employed by physicians and healers. Astronomy and cosmology in the Middle Ages, shedding light on medieval understanding of the universe through the celestial sciences. Geography and cartography in medieval Europe, examining the medieval worldview through geography and cartography. Alchemy and natural philosophy, investigating the convergence of science and mysticism, exploring alchemy and natural philosophy. And the last one, women in science, unveiling hidden contributions, examining the often overlooked role of women in medieval science.
Hello, I'm Eric Gartman. This semester, I will be teaching a class about the Civil War, the largest and bloodiest conflict in American history. Although it has been over a century and a half since the war ended, it continues to reverberate today. In this class, we will be discussing how the country came apart in the 1850s and how the issue of slavery was the primary issue in leading the southern states to secede. We will follow the course of military operations over the 4 long years of desperate fighting, including major battles fought not too far from here, including Antietam and Gettysburg, focusing on why the Union was finally able to win the war. Maryland was a border state during the war and a very important state to both sides, becoming a political and military battleground. We will examine how the way the war was remembered has changed in the 160 years since the termination of the conflict, and how some of those very same issues continue to be a flashpoint to this very day in the continued battles over Confederate monuments, statues, and symbols. So join me in the fall as we examine the war between the states. Thank you.
Hello, Osher members. My name is Linda Cato. I've had the privilege of offering over several semesters a series on East Asian civilizations from the perspectives and experiences of their women. This fall, I'll be offering at Vantage Point in Columbia, Women of Ancient through Sengoku Period Japan, a Her Story. The Sengoku period includes the conflicts covered by the popular TV series The Shogun. We'll focus on the historical facts and the remarkable women involved. This course sheds light on the perspectives, experiences, and political and cultural contributions of women that have been largely ignored by most accounts of Japan. I have a PhD from MIT in political science with a focus on domestic and international political economy. We will examine the most recent research, archaeological discoveries, DNA analysis, and the products of women themselves that have been largely overlooked and uncovered only in the last few decades. This course is geared towards both men and women, so don't be shy, gentlemen. No homework, no need to take notes. I send you PDF versions of all my presentations. Just sit back and enjoy. I hope I'll see you this fall. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nora Hammerman, and I'm a specialist in the art of the Renaissance in Europe. I'm going to be teaching a class on the third of the great triumvirate of Italian high Renaissance artists, Raphael. Raphael Sanzio, who, along with Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, is considered the stellar figure of the Roman high Renaissance. One of the great things about Raphael is that we have 5 paintings by him in the National Gallery of Art in Washington. And another thing about him is he's not from Florence. He comes from a small town called Urbino, which was extraordinarily cultured. And he goes to Rome, to Florence in the time that Michelangelo and Leonardo are there, soaks up everything they have to teach. And then in certain ways, as a painter, he actually surpasses them. And he goes on to Rome, where he paints the Vatican, the library of the Pope at that time, called the Stanza della Segnatura, very famous painting of the School of Athens. He then becomes a designer of prints, an architect, an archaeologist, a painter of altarpieces, one of the great draftsmen. That means he makes wonderful, wonderful drawings, and even a designer of tapestries. But maybe the most unique thing about Raphael compared to the other 2 high Renaissance masters is that he creates a school. He has about 50 young men following him around in Rome, and they become the leading artists of the subsequent generation. And partly because of them, for the next 200 or 300 years, Raphael endures as the most admired figure in European painting. So we're coming to Raphael looking back on all of those new discoveries.
Hello, I'm Dan Sherman. I want to invite you to preview the course I'm going to be teaching for Osher at Hopkins, Listening to the Movies. It's a chance to hear the music that is written for films. I'm not going to be talking about film musicals, think Fred and Ginger and such, but rather the sort of music, typically symphonic, that you hear at the movies. Think of the themes in Gone with the Wind, for example, as some of John Williams, the violins in Psycho. Wonderful music, I think, that really adds to the movie. So we are going to have 6 classes. It's going to be Zoom. We're going to see a lot of film clips. The class is going to be mostly chronological. I'll give you some background about these great European composers, Max Steiner, Erich Wolfgang Korngold, studied with Mahler and Strauss. These guys had their musical chops, for sure, who brought the great symphonic sound of European music to orchestras. We'll carry that through. A great American composer, Bernard Herrmann, I think one of the great composers of the 20th century, started with Citizen Kane, went on to do Hitchcock films and other. We'll carry you along to Elmer Bernstein, another very well-trained musician who, like most of these great film musicians, composers, could write all sorts of music. We have Elmer Bernstein, as I said, but we also have Leonard Bernstein, a great American musician who perhaps should have written more film music. So I'm going to take you on a journey through film. My hope is that you're going to appreciate film music. Maybe I've learned to become a little more attentive to it, realize how rich it is. I hope you come and join the class. I think you'll enjoy it, and I think you'll enjoy films all the more. So looking forward to teaching the class. Get your popcorn out. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Kalb, and I'm delighted to be returning to Osher in the fall of 2024 to teach a course on nonfiction. The class is called Interviews with Authors, Nonfiction Writers on Their Subjects and Their Craft. And in this course, we're going to explore many questions about nonfiction writing. We're going to look at the evolution of narrative nonfiction over the decades, explore questions like, what is it like to choose a subject and do research? How do you pick a subject? Do you decide or not decide to incorporate personal experience into a book of narrative nonfiction? What is it like to profile a person you admire versus someone you don't admire? And what is the editing process like? What do you go through to get a book-length project into final form? And also, what kinds of things do you learn in the reporting process that might change your views on the subject and change the evolution or the arc of the book as you work on it? So lots of interesting questions to explore. And then, as in class last fall, we're going to have wonderful authors visit us for an hour for Q&A and an interview. So I think we're going to have a lot of interesting conversations, a lot of fun, a lot to learn, and I hope you'll join me for a narrative nonfiction class in the fall. Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Wright, and I'm an assistant professor at Johns Hopkins School of Nursing. The name of the class that you'll be joining me in, and I'll be delighted to host you in, is called Palliative and Hospice Care, Professional Processes and Personal Perspectives. In terms of what you should be able to get from this class, it will provide you with the opportunity to reflect on matters connected to serious illness and the natural processes of dying and death. We will be bringing in interprofessional speakers to provide a range of different perspectives, insights, and to answer any specific questions that you may have. This course is actually drawn from a similar course that we teach to nursing students, where we're looking to help build their comfort discussing difficult topics. And as such, we do go quite deep into what can be difficult, challenging, or largely held taboo topics about palliative and end of life or hospice care. But we do it gently, with oodles of time for reflection and discussion. The goal of this course is really to facilitate a warm, useful, and comforting environment, accompanied by provision of useful insights, information, and resources. There's a couple of recommended readings that you may want to have and read alongside as we go through the course. So those two texts are When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Klinthi and Being Mortal by Atul Gawande, and we'll provide you more information with them as the course starts. It is an absolutely huge honor to be able to run this course and have this time with you. So I would say come armed with a cup of tea or beverage of your choosing and a slice of cake or an apple or food of your choosing, and readiness to talk in a safe and thoughtful environment. We don't have all the answers, and this is an inherently and intimately personal journey, but we will work with you to provide whatever resources we have and suggestions for where next steps may be needed. So I hope to get to meet you soon, and thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm Jim O'Leary, and this fall I'll be teaching Astronomy 101 from the Big Dipper to the Big Bang. We'll look at the stars that are visible in the sky year-round and the ones that are changing from season to season and why that occurs. We'll see how the ancients observed and perceived the sky, and we'll highlight several of the ancient monuments like Stonehenge, but also others from across the world. And we'll see how Earth moves through space and how fast it moves and how that causes the seasonal changes we're familiar with. And we'll look at places where the sun never sets. We'll examine lunar and solar eclipses. Both a total lunar eclipse and a partial solar eclipse are visible from Maryland next year. We'll look at our nearest celestial neighbor, the moon, the only world we can see in detail by eye alone. And we'll see how it formed by means of a violent collision with Earth many years ago. Then we'll move out to the stars, seeing how they form and spend their lives before dying out, some of these spectacular explosions called supernovas. And beautiful images from both the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope will show the nebulas these stars are born from and the remnants they leave behind, and see places where not only stars are forming, but other solar systems as well. We'll spend time in our own solar system exploring the planets and the moons of our neighboring worlds. Space exploration has allowed us to visit every planet, some dwarf planets and several moons, providing amazing surprises along the way and some spectacular images. And then we'll move on to the galactic realm with more amazing images, Hubble and Webb, showing all the great forces at play in the lives of galaxies. And then finally, we'll treat the Big Bang, which signaled the birth of our universe, the mysterious forces of dark matter and dark energy, and the intriguing idea of the multiverse, the idea that other parallel universes exist around us. So that's Astronomy 101, from the Big Dipper to the Big Bang. Hope you can join us this fall.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. This is Seth Keibel. I'm just doing a little bit of practicing to get ready for my fall class for JHU Osher. I'm going to be teaching my crossover composers class at the Residences at Vantage Point in Columbia on Tuesday afternoons 1 to 3. This is a really fun class. It's a class where we examine the lives and the music of composers whose works straddle the worlds of jazz and classical music, the concert hall and the nightclub. Yeah, we're going to be talking about George Gershwin and Rhapsody in Blue and some of his other concert works. But we'll also be talking about a lot of composers with whom you might not be as familiar, like Darius Milhaud, the great French composer whose great ballet score, La Création du Monde, premiered in Paris 3 months before Rhapsody in Blue. William Grant Still, one of the first great black composers in the classical music tradition. We'll be talking about other people. Duke Ellington, some of his concert works written for symphony orchestra rather than his usual jazz big band. Wynton Marsalis, Igor Stravinsky, Aaron Copland. We're gonna be listening and talking about a lot of great music. We'll talk about the composers, their lives, we'll listen to excerpts of the work, see some video clips, and yes, fear not, I always bring a musical toy or two with me to class to do a little live entertaining as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope to see you this fall at Residences at Vantage Point in Columbia. All right, now I better get back to practicing.
Hello, I'm Chris Obum, and I will be teaching 6 infectious diseases that changed the world. This is an exciting topic for us as we are still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. The 6 infectious diseases that we'll be covering are the bubonic plague, smallpox, HIV, human papillomavirus, which causes cervical cancer, Ebola, and finally, the COVID-19 epidemic. We'll be covering the pathophysiology, the disease-causing agents. We'll also be talking about the epidemiology, but more importantly, we'll be talking about the implications of these diseases, how they changed society, how they changed the economics, how they changed our view of public health, and how we have used these particular epidemics to inform how we move forward with our public health response. I'm really looking forward to you coming to join me this fall, and we'll be doing all the readings that you will have will be within the course website. I hope that this is a lively lecture and discussion course, and looking forward to seeing you.
Hi, everybody. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all join me as we talk about the new golden age that started in the year 2000 and how the Broadway musical has truly evolved since then. We'll talk about a lot of interesting musicals, the trends, and make sure that you're learning about all the new and exciting musicals that are happening in the past 24 years. It's truly now a new golden age. Hope to see you in the fall. Bye-bye.
Hello, mystery lovers.
I'm Melinda Kramer, and this fall I'll be teaching a course called Historical Crime Fiction, Creating the Illusion of Reality. We'll be meeting Tuesday afternoons during the second 6 weeks from October 29th through December 10th. Historical crime fiction is the most popular type of detective fiction. Everybody reads it. Most people really like it, but it's more than a murder wrapped in a crime drama. It's way more than that. In the hands of a skilled author, historical crime fiction allows us to experience the distant past while standing safely in the present. We're going to read 5 novels from October through December. Besides plot and character and setting, we're going to discuss and focus on how these authors create a sense of the historical past, a sense that makes us care about the crimes and the characters. Mysteries and history, I mean, what could be better? I'm looking forward to seeing you all to dive into some of these starting on October 29th.
Hi, I'm Joan Angelo Adams, and this next term at Carnegie on Tuesdays from 1 to 3, I'm going to be taking you on a journey through 1930s America, Hoovervilles to the New Deal. And very difficult decade, but there are lots of some fun things in there too that we'll be looking at covering. The beginning of this decade, 1/4 of the American workforce was out of work. The President of the United States, Herbert Hoover, was blaming it on Wall Street. They were crazy, they were dangerous, they were disastrous, and he was getting a little tired. Some of his cabinet members talked about that he would say, "Oh, my bones are tired. I'm just so tired of all this." And he was also very disturbed by shanty towns that were being built up in 1931 and the beginning of 1932, when they were calling them, the newspapers were calling them Hoovervilles. And his solution to the Depression was that everybody take care of themselves. Business step up to the plate, everybody volunteer and do this. And by 1932, getting ready to go into the 1932 election, over 9,000 banks had closed in the United States. So they were looking for an answer. And the Democrats came up with a very popular governor from New York, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Please join us as we walk through this decade on Tuesdays from 1 to 3 at the Carnegie. Take care. Have a great summer.
Hi, I'm Stan Levin, and this fall I will be teaching a course called Superstar, the career of Barbra Streisand. Of all the talented people in Hollywood and New York, Barbra is truly unique. She's the first woman to win an Oscar for writing a song, specifically Evergreen, from her version of A Star is Born. She only appeared in 2 Broadway musicals, yet she was nominated for a Tony Award for each of them. Best Supporting Actress for I Can Get It For You Wholesale, and Best Actress for Funny Girl. She's one of a handful of actors who won an Oscar for her first film. That happened to be the movie version of Funny Girl. She's also one of the rare women to direct a Hollywood movie. In fact, she directed 3. Yentl, The Mirror Has Two Faces, and Prince of Tides, plus a variety of documentaries. In fact, with Yentl, she was the first woman to produce, direct, write, and star in a movie. And she's now a successful author with her autobiography. Now, this is not required reading. It's a good book to have on your shelf. It's not required because it's nearly 1,000 pages, but I will be quoting from it. This is just a partial list of her many accomplishments. But this begs the issue, why Barbra Streisand? She didn't have standard glamour looks of a Hollywood star, although I think she's beautiful. She started in small clubs in New York, Greenwich Village, singing old ballads, dressed in old recycled clothing. She wanted to be an actor. It just happened that she could sing. We will be watching clips from most of her films, including musicals like the aforementioned Funny Girl, Hello, Dolly, On a Clear Day You Can See Forever, Yentl, some of her comedies such as The Mirror Has Two Faces and What's Up, Doc? And even her serious films like Nuts and The Prince of Tides. I will also be sharing some clips from some of her TV specials and an occasional TV appearance. Perhaps that will give us insights on how Barbara Jones Streisand from Erasmus High School in Brooklyn became a superstar.
Starting Tuesday, October 29th, from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the course, The Ancient Art of Mesoamerica, we encounter pyramids, sacred twins, and hallucinogens used to summon the gods. My name is Hugh Lehman. Together, our artistic journey begins by looking at the sacred text of the ancient Maya, the Popol Vuh, often referred to as the Maya Bible. The stories in this sacred text appear throughout our course, manifesting in incredible artworks and architecture. Beyond the ancient Maya, we uncover the so-called mother culture of Mesoamerica, which largely preceded the Maya and exerted incredible influence on them. We discover the mysterious Teotihuacan culture and its massive temples, unique murals and urban centers, as well as the incredible Zapotec culture. All of these societies interacting and influencing with one another. Importantly, we will explore how these ancient cultures are not merely a part of the past as we discover the modern art and worldview of the Zapotec and Maya living throughout the Americas today. Join us on this incredible journey through ancient Mesoamerica and discover how these ancient cultures continue to exert force on our world to this day.
Hi, my name is Bill Florman. I've been teaching here at Osher for about 8 years now. In the fall, I'll be teaching a course called The World According to Woody Allen. It'll be on Wednesday mornings in Columbia from 10 to 12. Woody Allen once joked in his very early stand-up comedy routine that he flunked out of NYU. He was caught cheating on a metaphysics exam. He looked into the soul of the student sitting next to him. Aside from being very funny and not having a formal education, much of a formal education, Woody Allen, like so many others in film, really was an autodidact and educated himself and formed a kind of coherent worldview. And that's really what we're going to be looking at in examining in detail probably 6 of his 50 films. We will, as I say, view the films in their entirety. We will have rather lengthy discussions of the films, and I'm hoping that the course will be both fun and interesting and furnish some insights into what I think is somebody who is one of the great filmmakers of the last 50 years. I look forward to seeing many of you then.
My name is Nikki Romiser, and I will be teaching a class entitled Everybody Knows Somebody, Domestic Violence. This course will focus on family violence as it relates to intimate partner violence. Participants will learn about the types of domestic violence, the dynamics in these types of relationships, the possible stages of domestic violence, and the signs of domestic violence. There will be a discussion on crimes commonly associated with domestic violence to include sexual assault, stalking, and murder. Theories on the causation and the history of domestic violence will also be included. Lastly, responses and remedies from the criminal justice system for these types of crimes will be discussed. This will include police response to domestic violence and the current laws dealing with arrest. The court response to domestic violence in these types of cases and the use of peace and protective orders will also be included. Safety plans and other programs and services will also be discussed. This class will consist of PowerPoints and various visual aids. The class will consist of one reading assignment for the class discussion. This book is entitled Crazy Love by Leslie Morgan Steiner. Thank you so much for your time and your consideration. I hope you're able to join us for this class. Thank you.
Have you ever seen a bird and wanted to know what it was? Observed unusual behavior by a bird and wondered what it was doing and why? Been curious how birds evolved in different ways as they adapt to their environment? The core of this 6-week course is the hundreds of photos I've taken of birds in the United States, Mexico, Costa Rica, Europe, and Morocco, and the Sahara Desert. I use these images to illustrate the wide diversity of species of birds, facets of birds' behavior and life cycles, including courtship and mating, nesting, feeding, defending territory, migration, a surprising secret of how birds can fly, and much more. The course will also help students build their own practice of identifying birds visually and by bird song. Hi, I'm Calvin Schnorr, wildlife photographer and birding enthusiast, and I hope you'll join me for my course, A Photo Tour of Birds and Bird Behavior at Osher Institute. Thank you.
I'm Naomi Darrenblum. In this fall, I will be teaching The Spies in Oppenheimer's World, the Rosenbergs, and Others. This class explores the history of the Soviet networks of spies that operated in Europe and the United States during the 1930s and 40s, both before and after the discovery of nuclear weapons. We will also analyze how the Rosenbergs fit into these networks and who the real nuclear spies were. There are some very interesting recent books on the history of World War II and nuclear spies, and we will be reading some of those chapters, which I will provide for the students. To my mind, two of the most interesting books published in the last 20 years are The Red Orchestra by Ann Nelson and All the Troubles of Our Days by Rebecca Donner. Both of these books tell the story of Mildred Harnack, who was an American from Wisconsin who lived in Germany, spied on the Nazis for the Soviets, a little for the Americans, and ended up being executed for it. I think this will be a very interesting class on the history of spying, the history of World War II, and the nuclear race, the world that Oppenheimer created. Hope to see you in the fall.
I'm Mel Goodman. I teach the course in international relations. I've been doing it for 25 years. And what I try to do in the course is give a better understanding of the international situation. The newspapers do a half-decent job, but they don't really provide context. And I tried to provide context. There is tremendous uncertainty in the world, and I'll try to deal with that. My particular concern is nuclear uncertainty. I think we have forgotten about the possibility of nuclear war. Maybe we should all go back and read John Hersey's essay on Hiroshima that appeared in the New Yorker in 1946 to remind us of what nuclear war is all about, particularly at a time when you have a Russian leader who's talking about exercising tactical nuclear weapons on the Ukrainian border. And then finally, what I try to do in the course is give a sense of bureaucratic politics, because I have a rather unique background in all of this. I've had security clearances for 42 years with the United States Army, with the Central Intelligence Agency, with the Department of State, with the Department of Defense. I taught at the National War College for 18 years, where I was professor of international relations. So these are the kinds of things that I try to do. And at the same time, I try to keep the course as topical and as relevant and as current as possible. So I hope you give it some consideration when you're filling out your academic agenda for the coming academic year.
Hi, my name is Nora Hammerman, and I'm going to be offering a class in what is often called the Northern Renaissance. That is the art that was taking place from the early 1400s to about 1600 in the Netherlands, France, the Rhine Valley, Switzerland, the artists who, at the exact same time that modern ideas of mathematical perspective and the study of the human body were taking place in Florence, in that part of Europe, equally important innovations in the history of art were taking place. Like, for example, the first sculpture that we can regard as Renaissance sculpture, looking like real people. The invention and development and perfection of oil painting by the great Jan van Eyck. I will talk at some length about the most stolen work of art in history, which is Jan van Eyck's Ghent altarpiece, which has recently been miraculously restored and can be seen in the original church where it was in Ghent, if you want to make that trip. I'll also be talking about artists like Roger van der Weyden, the other Northerners, Northern mystics like Hugo van der Goes and Gerken Jan, the dream of late Gothic painting, and the way in which these artists, besides inventing and developing oil painting, which then the Florentines picked up on belatedly, they also developed landscape painting, first as a background to religious works, and then little by little as an independent form. Still life painting begins in the north of Europe, and they developed portraiture away from the idea of seeing somebody like the head on a coin in profile, but into very relatable 3/4 length views of real human beings. So this is among the most revered and beloved schools of art that have ever existed. And I'll be going through mostly the 15th century. And then in a future class, we'll talk about some of the artists who came along later.
Hello, my name is Roger Brunyett, and that was the scene from Verdi's Aida. Opera, which used to be my own profession, is surely the grandest way to put music and theatre together on the stage. But it's far from the only one. My course, Music on the Stage, will survey some of the many ways in which the media can be combined. Here are some examples. For details of these and more, please see my website above. If you're intrigued, do sign up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Judy Scott Feldman, and this fall I'm going to be teaching explorations of architectural history in Columbia. I hope you'll join us. We'll be looking at architecture as much more than style. Goethe called architecture frozen music, and I think you can see that when you experience a Gothic cathedral. Thomas Jefferson believed architecture had a moral purpose to improve the taste of my countrymen, as he used the classical tradition when he designed the Capitol building in Richmond, Virginia. Frank Lloyd Wright believed architecture was the mother art of a nation. And I think you can see that when you look at the Parthenon and the great Acropolis in Athens from ancient Greece. or the Duomo in Florence. We're going to be looking at 6 key monuments. We'll start with the Sanctuary of Apollo in Delphi from the 5th century BC, and talk about architecture and its role in the environment, in sacred beliefs in ancient Greece, and in ritual. The Pantheon in Rome. We'll be looking at architecture that is both rooted in the Greek tradition, but also using Roman genius to create domes out of concrete and brick. We'll look at the Gothic Cathedral, Notre Dame in Paris, at a new style that had soaring height, light, and space. We're looking at Palladio during the Italian Renaissance, who converted the classical tradition to domestic purposes as well. We'll look at the City Beautiful movement, which emerges right around 1900 and reinstates classical architecture as an architecture of uplift of America, and is inspired the design, the 1901-2 Macmillan design for the National Mall in Washington, which is the basis of the mall we know today. And we'll end with Le Corbusier and Frank Lloyd Wright, looking at 2 modernists who approach modern architecture from 2 quite different perspectives, both of them using new kinds of materials, new ideas about human nature, about society, to create a new kind of modern architecture that's very much with us to this day. I hope you'll join us in the fall. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jen McClendon. I am going to be teaching a course in American comedy that goes from the beginning of the American experiment, when we really weren't that interested in humor, through the 19th century to the post-Civil War period, vaudeville, and into early radio. We'll go through radio to include people like George Burns and Gracie Allen, eventually Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, into the 1950s, your show of shows, Sid Caesar, well into the 1960s, when we're looking at something that I would consider one of the great high watermarks in American humor, the Dick Van Dyke Show. And we'll go into MASH, which I think is probably one of the other high watermarks for very different reasons in American humor. We'll also visit the early Carol Burnett Show and the great way that Carol Burnett burst onto the scene. I've got a wonderful surprise for you. We'll go into the 1980s and we'll look at the Cosby Show and other shows that explore difference from multiple angles. We'll take a look at Family Ties. We'll go into the 1990s, how this show is really just I Love Lucy reimagined, but Will and Grace in the 1990s. And then into the early 2000s. So there's a lot to explore. I will take requests. I will take requests up until about 2 or 3 weeks before the course begins. So come see my show. I hope you love it. I love preparing this show. So thank you.
My name is Steve Warmiel. I'm a professor at American University, Washington College of Law. I am very excited to be teaching in the fall a course called The Roberts Court. We will examine the trends, the important decisions, the controversies, the justices themselves who make up the current Supreme Court under Chief Justice John Roberts. It will be timely. It will be right on top of the court's most important recent decisions. And I think it will be a lot of fun and exciting. And I hope people will enjoy it. I'm not assigning any reading, although I will post a list of cases that we'll be talking about for each of the 6 classes. And I can do links to those cases if people want to read them. And otherwise, I think it will be a great semester. We'll be in a wonderful new location at Carnegie, and I think it's all going to be wonderful. I look forward to seeing you in the fall. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dorothea Israel Wolfson, and I'll be teaching a course this fall for Osher called 1776. So America's semi-quincentennial, that is our 250th anniversary, will be here in just 2 years. Now, that's a big birthday, and I can think of no better way of celebrating it than to refamiliarize ourselves with what happened during that hot July summer day in 1776 with the writing and the passage of the Declaration of Independence. So we'll begin our journey back to Philadelphia's Independence Hall by viewing Sherman Edwards' musical 1776. This musical is a lot of fun, And it does take some poetic license, but it is on the whole historically accurate and takes many of its lines and lyrics directly from the correspondence, diaries, and public writing of the founders. Now, the founders are often depicted as stony-faced demigods, something that Jefferson himself rejected. And this does a real disservice to the human qualities and the human achievements of the America's founders. They were flawed, yes, but brilliant human beings. So we'll explore, as one of the lyrics put it, how a farmer, a lawyer, and a sage, a bit gouty in the leg, acted as midwives to the birth of America. In addition to the musical, we'll read some of the primary writings, mainly correspondence among the founders that cast light on what they achieved, including some of the correspondence between Abigail and John Adams. And at bottom, this class will be a meditation on the meaning and achievement of our Declaration of Independence. I hope to see you in the fall. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robert Barchet, and I'll be teaching Bernard Malamud's short stories for this class at Osher this semester, and I look forward to having you in my class. Bernard Malamud is a wonderful writer. He's very much in touch with his Jewish roots in New York City. In fact, he once said, I believe, that everybody is actually Jewish, which means to me that everybody is human. We are all connected together in that fashion. I look forward to teaching this semester. I love the short stories. It'll be a discussion class, and I expect as much from you as you might expect from me. I promise that I will be there and ready to go, and I hope you will too. I recommend that you all purchase a textbook called Bernard Malamud, The Complete Stories. Now, we may only cover 2 stories, possibly 3 at each session, but you're going to get all of Bernard Malamud's stories in The Complete Stories, and you'll love the book. And I can't wait to teach this author this semester with you.
Hello, dear friends. My name is Vladimir Friedman, and I'm gonna invite you to my course, which called Guitar Music, America's Mixtape. First lecture is Guitar and Jazz. I will play this one together with Bob Abbott, and we will play music of most famous and popular guitarists all over the world, jazz guitarists. Second lecture, it actually will be a set of 2. It will be Pearls of Classical Music, Guitar Around the World. I put on those lectures Habanera from Carmen, Ronda La Turca, Bach's Aaron G. Next lecture, it will be movie tunes that are more famous than a movie itself. It will be Lady Be Good, Over the Rainbow, Fiddler on the Roof, and I will tell you about each piece, and those melodies probably you often know much better than even the movie itself. Next lecture will be Latin American music. We will play it duo with Seth Keibel, a friend of mine, clarinet player and flute player and saxophone player. We will do samba, rumba, bossa nova, tango, music from Venezuela, from Peru, Bolivia, different. Then we will play also with Seth Keibel the program which called A Story of Life through klezmer music and Yiddish songs. They are starting from somebody's birth songs like lullabies. We will go through school time, often Pripyatchik. Then we'll go to love moments of life, like Shane Vidilivone, other songs. And we will go to adult stage of somebody's life. There are a lot of songs about it, about happiness and troubles of life. So the summary of the course is that guitar is indeed a multi-faced representative of music, because It's like a chameleon capable of adapting to various genres, styles, and moods. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Eleanor Clift, a longtime Washington-based journalist. Came to Washington covering Jimmy Carter in 1976. So I've watched a lot of presidential elections where I've had not exactly a front row seat, but I've been in the peanut gallery, been in the White House a number of times covering presidents. But this fall will bring something that I certainly have never seen, and nobody has ever seen, and that's a sitting president debating and contending with the challenge from a former president, and a former president who doesn't accept the results of the last election, where every tally taken indicates that he lost. And he has built a strong comeback to the Oval Office based on a lie. Finally, it's Game On, and that's the title of the course, Game On, Biden versus Trump. For a long time, people didn't really believe it would come to this. The unpopularity of both of these candidates for varying reasons. Trump because of his legal baggage and his explosive style, his references to authoritarianism, and Biden chiefly because of his age and a sense that has been pushed and promoted by Republicans that the Democratic president is really not up to another 4 years. So this is the election of our lifetimes. It will determine the strength of our democracy going forward. So please join me in the fall. We'll talk about everything. We'll laugh, we'll cry, and we'll commiserate. Hope to see you in September.
Hi, I'm Caroline Gordon, and I'm going to be teaching a course called Introduction to the Fashion Industry this fall semester. I'm super excited to share my knowledge and expertise with the community and teach you a little bit more about what can sometimes feel like a very elusive industry in the country. I work in New York City and have worked here for the past 20 years at a number of different large corporations, from Ralph Lauren and Ann Taylor to G3 Apparel and Hill House Home. And I work to do the buying side of the business as well as the selling side of the business to the buyers. I have also overseen design teams over the years and planning teams too. I currently teach at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology, in New York City as well. And I often teach courses that are centered around merchandising, the fashion industry, like this course, as well as some retail math and guest lecture series where I introduce different professionals from around the industry into the class. What I'm hoping to talk to all of you about in the fall is the fashion industry in general. We'll cover some really fun topics like history of fashion and why things evolve the way they do and trends develop the way they do. We'll talk a bit more about trends, how they come in and how they leave, and how there are typical cycles that follow through on product trends, and just kind of the ins and outs from a high level view of how the industry works, how the clothing is prepared, what the big moment items are in trendiness for fashion, and how it all influences you, the everyday consumer of apparel. Hope you'll join me and have a wonderful summer.
Hello, this is George Shepper, and I'm happy to say a few words about my upcoming course for Osher in the fall of 2024 on Zoom. And the course is called Ancient Civilizations of the Andes. This course is going to involve an exploration of about 3,000 years of cultural history of all the civilizations in the Andean world that preceded the Inca. It includes all kinds of amazing things, including probably the oldest city in the Western Hemisphere, which is found in the Andes. That's the city of Caral. And we also have amazing finds that have to do with pottery, with textiles, with architecture, and amazing tomb discoveries, including the richest tomb that's ever been uncovered in the Western Hemisphere. And we'll go through the sequence of some amazing cultural manifestations, including a fantastic pottery tradition of the Moche culture, which has examples kind of unique in the Western native cultures of hyper-realistic portrait pottery, where portraits of the same individuals can be followed through the years of seeing the portrait of the same individual on a series of pots. So I welcome everybody who's interested in any of this to attend. There'll be highly richly illustrated lectures for each class, and it'll be like, I hope, a good virtual tour of the wonders of the Andean world, of the ancient Andean world. So until the fall, and meanwhile, have a good rest of summer, and until then, and I will sign off on that note. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Greetings, my fabulous Osher students. Das Land ohne Musik, the land without music. What was England's music from the death of Henry Purcell all the way to perhaps Sir Edward Elgar in terms of English homegrown composition? Nothing. Not a single significant English composer was born. Was London the greatest place in Europe to have your music played? Yes. Did England import the greatest musicians like Handel and Haydn and Mendelssohn to perform there? Absolutely. But in terms of homegrown English composers, Bobkiss. Yeah. So why? I don't know why, but I can tell you that before, in the Renaissance, you had incredible composers like Tallis and Byrd and Gibbons and Thomas Campion, Thomas Morley, all of these incredible, John Dowland, all of these incredible composers. And then once you get to Purcell, you've got a big nothing after that for a very long time, other than gorgeous Anglican church music, which they have always produced in great quantities. And then in the 20th century, something magical happens, beginning with two composers, Sir Charles Villiers Stanford and Sir Hubert Parry, who create this renaissance, this rebirth of English music. And then this leads to the amazing Sir Edward Elgar, Ray Vaughan Williams, Gustav Holst, Gerald Finzi, Benjamin Britten, William Walton. That's Sir William Walton to you, Pilevsky. You get the idea. I hope to see you in the fall, and we will have an incredible journey together, as we always do. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Chris Stevenson. Sick and tired of reading old white men? Tired of Aristotle? Join me this autumn for diverse contemporary selections from the past 3 to 5 years in our class, The Time Is Now, where we will read such selections as James Welch's Winter and Blood, Carmen Maria Machado's In the Dream House, Jasmine Ward's Where the Line Bleeds, Sally Rooney with Normal People, Patricia Lockwood, no one is talking about this, Joanne McNeil, Wrong Way, Shannon Sanders Company. We'll read poetry, nonfiction, fiction, the works. And I hope to see you there this autumn. Thanks.
Hello, Osher colleagues. My name is Andrea Barushin, and this fall in person at 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, starting October 31st, I'm going to be teaching a course called Your Brain and Your World. This is the 4th iteration of this course, and I'm going to follow the format that I did previously. So I will teach the first lecture, and that'll be an introduction to neuroanatomy and neurophysiology. So you learn a little bit about the structure and the function of the brain, and mostly it's to provide you with terminology that you'll be hearing later on in the course. For the rest of the weeks, I'm going to bring in 5 expert speakers who will speak on different and hopefully interesting and relevant topics. So please join me on Halloween, wear your costumes, and prepare to have a trick or a treat. And I will provide with this course and the speakers a glimpse into our amazing brain. I look forward to seeing you then.
Hi, my name is Rob Jacobs, and this fall I will be teaching a 12-week Zoom course called The Violent Bear It Away, Flannery O'Connor's Savage Vision of Grace. In this course, we will be reading someone who many critics consider to be one of the greatest writers of the 20th century and possibly one of the greatest writers in the history of American literature, and that is Flannery O'Connor. Flannery O'Connor was a particularly interesting writer. She died quite young at the age of 39 from lupus, but in that time built an incredible body of work. She was a devout Roman Catholic, Irish Catholic, living in the deep Protestant Jim Crow South. So her stories are often fall under the category of Southern Gothic. They're strange, violent, and redemptive. And in this course, we'll be reading her novel, The Violent Bear It Away, as well as a number of her best short stories. So I would invite anyone who's interested in Flannery O'Connor to come out and read and discuss this great American writer. So thank you so much.
My name is Saul Lilienstein. It's my pleasure and my privilege to be back here and presenting great music to you again. The title is called The Most Inventive Composer of Them All. Say, who's the most inventive composer of them all? Well, it's got to be Beethoven. No, it isn't. It's close, but not Beethoven. No, it's not Wagner. No, not even a cigar there. Not close at all. Or Stravinsky. Mm-hmm. We're going to the man who invented more than anyone who ever wrote a piece of music, and that's the composer Franz Joseph Haydn. Haydn, who is the exact contemporary of George Washington. They were born in the same year. Haydn was first in creating what we know of today as classical music. The only thing, literally the symphony, the string quartet, the sonata, he did it all. Everyone else, Mozart, Beethoven, they learned at his feet. And I'll look forward to having you in my class this semester. Thanks so much.
This is Ron Edelstein. My course this semester is Climate Change Solutions. So at this point in time, most of us realize that climate change is real, it's happening, and that it's man-made. Question is, what are we and the world going to do about it? And that's the topic of this course. We'll spend a few minutes on a brief review of climate change science and impacts. And then we're going to move to potential solutions. We will first examine geoengineering, worldwide kind of approaches, worldwide engineering approaches, both solar radiation management and carbon dioxide removal. And then we'll look at natural processes like reforestation. Next, we'll go to the demand sectors, residential, commercial buildings, industrial, transportation. What can we do as residential customers and consumers to decrease our energy use and reduce our carbon footprint? We'll look at conservation, electric heat pumps, and other options. For the industrial sector, we'll look at the primary industries, steel, cement, plastics, and fertilizer, and opportunities to use alternative fuels like hydrogen and possible carbon sequestration pathways. We will run the climate solutions model En-ROADS, where you will be the energy czars and use what you've learned to keep global temperature increases from pre-industrial times to no more than 1.5 degrees centigrade. I look forward to seeing you at the class.
Hello, I'm Kelly Gear-Ripken, National Chair of Johns Hopkins Medicine, A Woman's Journey. For 30 years, A Woman's Journey has educated women about the latest medical information from Johns Hopkins. We are excited to offer you the unique opportunity to participate in Insights into Medicine, a series of 5 compelling presentations with Johns Hopkins physicians. You'll learn about the latest advancements in medical research from preventing dementia to AI. Did you know that sex and gender have an impact on the prevention and management of chronic health conditions, including diabetes and heart disease? Internist Wendy Bennett will share how gender differences play a role. As we age, so do our eyes. Are you familiar with the conditions that can occur, such as dry eye, cataracts, low vision, diabetic retinopathy, and macular degeneration? Join ophthalmologist Shamima Sikder as she dives into these conditions, current treatments, and research. Depression and mood disorders are still at unprecedented levels following the pandemic. Psychiatrist Ashley Bone will help you to understand the hallmarks of mental illness and how you can help those who are affected. Artificial intelligence is the latest cutting-edge technology. It is even being used in the detection of early cancer. Radiologist Elliot Fishman reveals how computerized tomography, better known as CT or CAT scan, will revolutionize the physician's ability to diagnose cancer in the early years. Up to half of all dementias are preventable. Neurologist Rebecca Gottesman discloses the results of her research about delaying and treating dementia. All of the topics could have an impact on your life. I hope that you will join us for this course on a journey to improve your health and well-being.
My name is John McCarthy. I'm State's Attorney for Montgomery County. I'm dedicated my entire professional life to making our community safer. And some of the rhetoric in the campaign says that we need more diversionary programs. The reality is we have more diversionary programs than anybody in the state. 5,000 people a year are diverted out of the criminal justice system. We need to, some say, end cash bonds. We don't use cash bonds in Montgomery County. Have community prosecutors. We already do. Establish a gun safety task force to address guns in our community. I already have. Establish mental health courts. I did that 7 years ago. Have a reentry program for people leaving jails in Montgomery County. We did that 45 years ago. Have a conviction integrity unit. I've done that. I have a diverse workforce. There are people from 70 different ethnic and racial backgrounds that are in my office. We simply are the best office in Maryland. We've been recognized by the Anti-Defamation League on 2 separate occasions with their prestigious Shield Award. I teach in the community at Johns Hopkins and Montgomery College. I've taught over 5,000 people who live in this community. We have constantly innovated through the years I've been state's attorney, being the first to independently investigate police shootings and the first to halt the prosecution of marijuana. Time has come for us to come together to address issues of guns, gun safety, school safety, and youth violence.
My name is George Cohen, and I'll have the honor of teaching a course on dispute resolution techniques this fall. The best way to describe this course is going to be how to. Mediation has become an increasingly valuable tool for people to resolve disputes short of going to court. I'll be explaining at least 3 of the major reasons. One, much more expeditiously than being in court, informal, confidential, and if you reach a solution, it is your destiny that you have control, not awaiting either an arbitrator or a judge to impose a solution. So all those are the basic desirable aspects of it. And I, of course, will be talking from the time you are called in to be a mediator, hands-on, step-by-step, stage-by-stage, looking at my prior 10 years of experience in the private sector, the public sector, and President Obama's director of the Federal Mediation Service. There are no reading obligations going to be imposed. There will be intellectual obligations in terms of class participation. I'm a great believer in everyone contributing. And as far as I'm concerned, My experience in these kinds of things is that people get very much enmeshed in the proposition and the proposals that are being considered, and you'll have your own experiences to share with me.
Hi, my name is Christina Gerstel. This fall, I'm going to be teaching a course on medical pluralism. You probably have two questions. Number one, what is medical pluralism? And two, why is medicine from the 1800s important to me today? Let me tell you about what health was like in the 1800s. Most people died by the age of 40. 4 out of 10 children died before the age of 10. Epidemics like cholera, typhoid, yellow fever killed entire families and destroyed communities. The medicine of that time was very ineffective, and most physicians used bleeding and dangerous drugs like mercury, silver, chamomile, and opium. Because there was a huge unmet medical need, there was a determined search for new medicines, for new healing treatments, and also to better understand the patient experience. The new therapies that arose, some of them were botanical. They came from Asia, from Africa, and of course, Native America. There were also new manipulative therapies that began, and we know them as osteopathic care and chiropractic care. And also the mind-body connection was explored, looking at nutrition and lifestyle. In this course, you're going to have the opportunity to meet some very gifted healers, some health evangelists, some wonderful scientific pioneers, as well as many of the hucksters that were around at that day. We're also going to look at how modern biomedicine affected all of these healing systems. And we're going to look at what is the legacy left behind in today's healthcare environment by these systems. I hope you'll join me for this innovative trip through medical history. Thank you.
My name is Bill Lewis, and I am the chair of the guest lecture series. Every fall, we strive to bring noted speakers from various disciplines to speak to our class on Zoom. Typically, the 90-minute session is devoted to partly hearing from our speakers, of course, but also followed by a robust question and answer period of about 45 minutes. And I've heard from all accounts that this is probably the most popular part of the class. This year's roster will include Congressman Jamie Raskin, who probably doesn't need any further introduction. We're going to hear from Mark Barden, who's the CEO and co-founder of the Sandy Hook Foundation, which is a dedicated organization for schools to deal with school violence. Mark's son, Daniel, was one of the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre, and this is something that is very near and dear to him. We're also going to hear from a presidential scholar who will talk to us about the most significant presidential elections in our nation's history. And I'm thinking that we may have to add 2024 to that list pretty soon. And we'll hear from Bill Taylor, the former ambassador to Ukraine, who has come back for the third straight year to talk to us about what's happening in the war. Bill's comments change because the wars change, but we're just glad to have his insights and grateful that he's able to find the time to speak to us. A full list of the speakers is available in your catalog, but I hope you will take the opportunity to join us every Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. on Zoom to interact and exchange with some very amazing speakers. Thank you.
Have you ever wanted to write a memoir, but were afraid that you couldn't make your story engaging? In the memoir seminar, you will learn how to do just that. We will study action and conflict as the building blocks of a compelling memoir. We will read and discuss action-packed memoirs and stories and apply what we've learned to our own work. I'm Diane Sharper, and I'm looking for you. I'm looking for you if you've always wanted to write, but have never had the time to do so. I'm looking for you if you've always wanted to tell your life story, but have been afraid to try to do so. If either description fits you, please take the memoir seminar. I can help you write and publish your memoirs. I've taught memoir writing at Towson University for 30 years and at Osher Johns Hopkins for about 8 years. I've written or edited 7 books, 3 of them books of memoir. And I've written about 1,000 book reviews, many of them books of memoir. I'd be more than happy to help you. We meet every Thursday from 1 to 3. I hope to see you in the fall. Thank you. Bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Priodko, and I'm excited to tell you about my course, Decoding Taylor Swift, unveiling the layers of her lyrics and music. In this course, we'll dive into Taylor Swift's musical evolution, exploring her entire career through her lyrics. Each class will involve a critical analysis of 2 to 3 of her songs, where we'll delve into her masterful use of imagery, rhyme, and language. You'll uncover the rich layers of meaning within her lyrics, all set against their cultural contexts. We'll discuss the various literary techniques she uses to bring her stories to life and highlight the major themes that reoccur throughout her discography. Whether you're a seasoned Swiftie or new to her work, there's something here for everyone. Beyond her music, we'll also consider Taylor Swift as a cultural icon, examining her impact as a writer and a businesswoman. This is a perfect opportunity for anyone interested in lyrical analysis, poetic techniques, and the intersection of music and culture. I'm looking forward to embarking on this journey with you and uncovering the depth of Taylor Swift's lyrics together. See you in class.
My name is Lidia Almidon. I am from Lima, Peru. And I am very honored to be part of the Osher at Johns Hopkins University. I will be teaching Spanish for beginners via Zoom on Tuesdays from 7 to 8:30. I will be sharing with you the experience of teaching many years, and I'm very honored and happy to be part of this journey to experience the language called Spanish. So the course will be focusing on grammar, listening, reading, writing, speech, and conversation, and also the building of vocabulary. Even though the class is called like foundations, and it will be mainly focused in teaching and for you to have the experience to learn Spanish and apply it to daily life activities. And it will really enhance the learning experience through practices, conversations, and this is what I offer at the Johns Hopkins University. And the book that I will require, or I will be working on it, and will be easy lecture for beginners of the Spanish language. And I'm very happy to begin the journey in this fall season with all the students that had the desire to experience the language called Spanish. So welcome, bienvenidos a todos a la clase de español, y seré la maestra Lidia Almidón de Lima, Perú, para compartir y experimentar el idioma de Cervantes, el español. Muchas gracias.
Hello, my name is Mark Mills, and I'm teaching a course called Culinary Medicine. In the first part of the course, we'll explore how taste informs how our body processes the food that we eat, how to reduce sodium with a wonderful range of other ingredients, and otherwise bring our normal daily lives in line with the Mediterranean diet, which has been proven to extend life and improve quality of life. In the second section of our class, we'll actually take a look at specific disease modifiers, ways that we can control the diet for ourselves and our friends and family to help them if they have particular medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, things like that. We won't actually have any outside reading except for a few handouts that I'll transmit to you. Most of the lecture will actually focus around a very user-friendly version of the Mediterranean diet and how we can improve our health outcomes by the way that we eat. Really looking forward to seeing you all, and I hope you join my class.
Hi, I'm Joycelyn Tate, and this semester I'll be teaching a course called Hacking Democracy: How Artificial Intelligence and Deepfakes Target and Influence Voters. During this session, we will be talking about tactics used to disseminate deepfakes and election disinformation, how deepfakes and disinformation impact public opinions and actions, and how you can identify and combat deep fakes and election disinformation. I look forward to seeing you in this course. This is so timely for this election season.
Hello, my name is Stephen Klatsky, and it is my pleasure to speak on baseball, and the subject is the first Black player for each of the 16 original baseball teams, and it covers the era of Jackie Robinson, 1947, with the Dodgers, through Pumpsie Green in 1959 with the Boston Red Sox. It was 12 years for each of the 16 teams to integrate their rosters. And we'll be talking about the actually 15 players, because one player was the first for two teams. I am wearing a Cleveland Barons t-shirt. That's the Negro League team that one of my favorite first players, Sam Jethro of the then Boston Braves, was the first Black for the Braves organization and a favorite of mine. And we'll hear about the 4 Hall of Famers among the 15 players, as well as some of the lesser known players who I think are just as interesting to chat about. If you are at all interested in either baseball or race issues that face society during this era, I hope you'll consider taking the course, and I send my thanks in advance for your interest.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Jamie Goodall. I'm a historian at the U.S. Army Center of Military History and formerly an assistant professor of history at Stevenson University, just outside of Baltimore, Maryland. And for Osher's term this year, I'm going to be taking you through pirates, politics, and rum punch in the 17th and 18th century Atlantic world. So we're going to delve not only into the lives and exploits of men and women like Blackbeard, Black Sam Bellamy, and Bonnie and Mary Read, but we're also going to look at the attempts at the political suppression of piracy by individuals like Governor Woodes Rogers and the various European monarchs who attempted to stamp out piracy throughout this colonial empire that they're trying to develop. We're going to cover primarily the English colonies of North America and the Caribbean, but we're also going to delve into the influence and importance of things like alcohol, not just its consumption, but also its production, the sale of alcohol, and the places within which that alcohol was consumed, in terms of how all of this played into the politics of piracy during the Golden Age. Now, we're also going to delve into some of the more interesting aspects, not just using the written word as documentary evidence, but we're also going to look at archaeological evidence and other forms of material culture to get a better sense and a deeper appreciation for the kinds of lives that these men and women who took to piracy led, and maybe why they turned to piracy and how this influenced their broader lives throughout the Atlantic world. Now, we're going to stick again primarily to the English-speaking pirates that we are most familiar with, but I will also try to introduce us to individuals who influenced various aspects of colonial North America, such as French pirates and Dutch pirates as well. So stay tuned and I look forward to working with you.